Is God ignoring me, or is he positioning me for something I just can't see yet? Can I speak to someone who feels like their prayers are hitting the ceiling? You're doing everything right, reading, praying, trusting, and it still feels like God has gone quiet, like the line went dead and nobody told you. I want to say something to you that I wish someone had said to me back when I was in that exact spot. Silence from God is not absence. Sometimes the quietest seasons of your life are the ones where He is moving the most. Stay with me, because by the end of this, I want you to be able to look at your waiting season and call it by its real name. Here's something I've come to believe about hard seasons. The size of your problem isn't fixed. It actually grows or shrinks depending on what you keep staring at. Think about it. The more attention you give your difficulty, the more you replay it, talk about it, let people feel sorry for you over it, the bigger it gets in your mind. And the bigger it gets, the more it starts to compete with God for the loudest voice in the room. Eventually, you're not really doubting your circumstances anymore. You're doubting Him. So before we go any further, I want to name the real issue, because it's not actually the silence. It's where your eyes have landed during the silence. And there's a story in the Bible that pictures this better than almost anything else I know. What if the difference between feeling abandoned and being positioned has nothing to do with your circumstances and everything to do with where your eyes are pointed? Let me show you a night that nobody should have survived. Daniel gets thrown into a den of lions for doing nothing wrong except staying faithful to God. From the outside, that is rock bottom. That's a man who did everything right and still ended up locked in with something that could kill him. And Scripture tells us he slept all night in a den full of lions. There's an old illustration I love about this story. Picture an image of that scene. Daniel surrounded by lions, hands resting calmly behind him, his face turned upward toward a single beam of light coming down from above. If you look at that picture and only notice the lions, you'll completely miss the point of it, because Daniel isn't looking at the lions at all. His eyes are fixed on God. That's why he could sleep. Not because the danger wasn't real, but because his attention wasn't on the danger. It was on the one who controlled it. The same God who could shut a lion's mouth in an instant chose instead to let those lions stay right there all night while his servant rested in the middle of them. The den wasn't proof Daniel had been forgotten. The den was the very room God used to position him for the promotion that came the next morning. So if Daniel could rest in a den full of lions just by knowing where to fix his eyes, what is it that actually let him trust God enough to do that? This is where it gets really practical, because there's a principle underneath this whole story. Here's something worth sitting with. God doesn't run His kingdom based on how anyone feels in the moment, including you, including me. He runs it on principles, steady, unchanging principles that don't shift just because the night feels long. One of those principles is simple: obey God and leave the consequences to Him. That's it. Your job was never to manage the outcome. Your job is to do what He's asked you to do and let Him carry what happens next. Another one is this: God moves on behalf of the people who wait for Him, not the people who panic, not the people who force an exit, but the people who stay faithful in the holding pattern. Waiting in God's economy isn't wasted time. It's actually the posture that activates His action on your behalf. That's exactly what was happening with Daniel. He wasn't waiting for the lions to disappear. He was obeying, trusting the principle, and letting God handle the den. And if you think about it, every consequence that could come from your obedience right now, every single one, is something God can already handle. There isn't a version of obeying Him and it going badly that's actually outside His control. So when the silence stretches out, the question isn't, has God stopped working? The question is Am I still standing on the principle, or have I let my feelings talk me out of it? So if positioning always runs on principle instead of feelings, how do you actually tell the difference between being positioned and being ignored while you're still living inside the silence? Let me give you something practical you can use today. Here's the honest truth. From the inside, being positioned and being ignored can feel completely identical. Same silence, same unanswered prayers, same friends getting their breakthrough while you're still waiting at the same red light. So here's what actually separates the two, and it's not a feeling, it's a focus. When you're convinced you've been ignored, your attention locks onto the problem. You measure it, you let it define how you see God, instead of letting God define how you see it. The lions become the only thing in the room. But when you shift your focus off the problem and onto who God actually is, not who you're afraid he's become, but who he has always proven himself to be, something changes. Not the circumstances, you. The waiting starts to feel less like abandonment and more like a workshop. You start noticing what's actually being built in you. Patience that wasn't there before, trust that didn't exist when this season started, a faith that doesn't need a miracle every week just to stay standing. That's the test. Ask yourself honestly, am I more focused on the size of my problem or on the proven character of my God? Daniel had every reason to focus on the lions. He chose instead to keep his eyes on the one who put him in that den's outcome in the first place. That choice is what carried him to the morning. Here's the honest truth. From the inside, being positioned and being ignored can feel completely identical. Same silence, same unanswered prayers, same friends getting their breakthrough while you're still waiting at the same red light. So here's what actually separates the two, and it's not a feeling, it's a focus. When you're convinced you've been ignored, your attention locks onto the problem. You measure it. You let it define how you see God, instead of letting God define how you see it. The lions become the only thing in the room. But when you shift your focus off the problem and onto who God actually is, not who you're afraid he's become, but who he has always proven himself to be, something changes. Not the circumstances, you. The waiting starts to feel less like abandonment and more like a workshop. You start noticing what's actually being built in you. Patience that wasn't there before. Trust that didn't exist when this season started. A faith that doesn't need a miracle every week just to stay standing. That's the test. Ask yourself honestly, am I more focused on the size of my problem or on the proven character of my God? Daniel had every reason to focus on the lions. He chose instead to keep his eyes on the one who put him in that den's outcome in the first place. That choice is what carried him to the morning. So if every hidden season comes down to where you fix your eyes, what happens the moment it's finally time to step out of the den and into what you are being prepared for? There's one more story I want to give you because it closes the loop on everything we've talked about. Esther's story doesn't start with a calling. It starts with an ordinary young woman in a foreign land with no power, no title, no platform, taken into a process she didn't choose, in a palace she didn't ask to be part of. For a long stretch, nothing about her life looks like destiny. It looks like circumstance, until a threat rises against her people, and her uncle Mordecai says the line that changes everything. Who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Read that carefully. He's not saying God just showed up in that moment. He's saying God had been positioning her the entire time, through every part of her story that looked unremarkable, so she would be exactly where she needed to be when the moment finally arrived. That's the part I want you to take with you. The years that don't make sense to you right now, the ones that feel unremarkable, hidden, slow, those aren't outside the plan. They are the plan. The patience you're building, the trust you're learning to keep in the dark, that's not filler while you wait for your real life to start. That is your real life, quietly arranging itself into position for the moment it's needed. So if Daniel's den and Esther's palace both led to a moment that needed exactly that kind of preparation, what does that mean for the moment you're walking toward right now? Let me bring this all the way home for you. Daniel didn't skip the den and go straight to the promotion. Esther didn't skip the years of obscurity and go straight to such a time as this. Both of them walked through a season that looked like silence, and both of them came out the other side carrying something that silence had built in them. So if you're in that season right now, if your prayers feel like they're hitting the ceiling, if you're watching everyone around you get their breakthrough while you're still waiting, I need you to hear this clearly. God is not ignoring you. He is positioning you. And positioning always looks like delay, right up until the moment it doesn't. Here's what I want you to do this week. Stop measuring this season by how long it's lasted, and start asking what it's actually building in you. Obey what you already know to do, and consciously leave the outcome to Him. That's the principle, not a feeling you wait to have. Write down what's changed in you since this season started. Patience, trust, a faith that doesn't collapse without a visible answer. That list is the evidence that something has been happening the whole time you thought nothing was. If this spoke to you, stay close. Subscribe, because next time we're going to talk about what to do in the actual moment the door finally opens, because positioning is only half the story. And if you know someone who's in their own den right now, send them this. They need to hear that the silence isn't the end of their story. It's the chapter right before it. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are being positioned.